जागने वाले किसी बांग दरा से दिल हो.
To what extent are, these humanitarian organizations like UNRWA, UNICEF, and World Food Program still able to deliver food, water, and shelter to the civilians in Gaza under current conditions?
My understanding is that they have had their supplies completely exhausted, which has allowed Israel, who has maintained this symmetrically sealed blockade around Gaza, to exploit the opportunity to effectively get UNRWA out. And the reason why is this is fairly well known. It's part of a long-term power play by Israel, a long-term goal to weaken the Palestinian position by undermining this UN institution that in its very existence affirms the Palestinians' right to return. And that is to say also the Palestinian diaspora to an extent. And by uprooting it from the Gaza situation, it also effectively removes it as a de facto player on the Palestinian scene to further undermine the Palestinian negotiating position when it comes to these kinds of concepts like the right of return for the diaspora. But even if Israel were able to further displace Palestinians in the foreseeable, it may be able to also attack their ability to return. So undermining the Palestinian position by removing UNRWA is a long-term goal. There's also, of course, the practical element, which is that UNRWA has provided healthcare relief in terms of food and education. And by removing this, you attack the Palestinian ability to exist in Gaza, to survive. And it's managed to not only do that, but to do it with a hard pivot to the dystopian extreme, which is this basically military contractor that runs the current setup, where we see these almost daily massacres of Palestinians in as what I said, like Hunger Game-like scenarios. And that is incredible that in summer 2025, we've ended up in a situation where Israel has been able to effectively take over the aid dynamic and enact what is a very negative outcome for the Palestinians in Gaza, where it is basically empowering chaos, not just at the humanitarian level in terms of food scarcity, but also empowering the gangs, the looters, no doubt the drug dealers, and the kind of the warlords of the Gaza territory, in order to effectively make the Palestinian population there easier to divide, more ungovernable, and effectively more desperate from the point of view of civilian survival, but also any kind of political organization or any kind of civil administration. So by attacking it with this sort of cancerous chaos, you're attacking the Palestinians' ability to organize, to survive, and to resist in any organized, even political way. So it's a stark mark of where we're at that Israel has been able to achieve that.
Yeah, and we have just witnessing these days the images of how aid has been weaponized, and all throughout these days, all these reports are coming up of firing Israel firing during Palestinians are getting this aid, right?
Yeah, and of course, it's also American military contractors who are on the ground. I've even seen evidence that there's British citizen military contractors on the ground. And it speaks to the kind of, don't want to say invisible complicity, but the absolute blatant complicity of the Western powers, who on the one hand, we have this political or geopolitical diplomatic sphere where they say the situation is terrible, but in practical, brutal reality, the arms supplies continue, the intelligence sharing continues, the private contractors are still able to go, and in the American case, actually sending all of the weapons very actively to the tunes of billions of dollars, and supporting the Israelis in every way. So it really destroys reality for all of us in the sense that people are in a situation where effectively you sort of can't trust what our leaders say because they literally sort of barefaced lie in terms of their exceptionalizing of the situation, whereas at the same time they are allowing it to continue. And I think that in a lot of cases they actually don't consciously know that they're allowing it to continue. I think that they've really internalized that there is this sort of nuanced position that they can take. But I believe at night they must be kept awake by the situation. But I believe during the day, these leaders, these foreign ministers, these Middle East ministers, I believe that during the day, they really somehow believe that they have struck this genius, nuanced position where they can call out what's happening, but at the same time, completely allow it to continue.